So if you're looking for an all-in-one device that checks every box, this is the router you need to consider, because it has blazing fast Wi-Fi 7 technology that boosts throughput up to 7.2 gigabits. It has 34 gig worth of switching wired capability, SFP+, 10 gig ports, 2.5 gig ports, the ability to set up to 5 SSIDs with Guest Network Pro, as well as easy management of IoT devices, secure security through commercial grade AI Protection Pro, as well as one-tap scanning technology, comprehensive VPN support for site-to-site VPN, ensuring seamless connectivity for all of your devices for a feature-rich whole home network powered by AiMesh. This is the Asus RT-BE88U, and when I say it packs a punch, it packs 2 punches. Now, when it comes to the design of this router, right? The router weighs 1060 grams, so just over a kilo. Its dimensions are 300 by 188 by 60.5 millimeters. It features 4 removable or detachable antennas, and it has a matte black finish with an embossed Asus logo at the top, brushed. There's massive vents both at the top, at the back, as well as at the bottom of the router and sides, so that the router can be cooled because of all of the features and the ports that are built into this device, so to ensure that it is comfortably cool. The matte black finish is amazing, and you can see there's not too much of fingerprints left on this, but I mean the all-in-all aesthetic with the matte black finish and the gold trims even around the antennas are absolutely amazing on this device. This router features blazing fast Wi-Fi 7 technology that boosts throughput up to 7.2 gigabits. It bolsters your wired network with up to 34 gigs worth of switching technology, cutting edge 10 gig SFP+, 10 gig WAN ports, 2.5 gig ports. It allows you to easily establish up to 5 SSIDs with Guest Network Pro for easy IoT device setup and management. You can stay secure thanks to commercial grade AI protection powered by Trend Micro, with one-tap security scanning, comprehensive VPN support, as well as site-to-site VPN. You can ensure seamless connectivity for all of your devices with a feature-rich whole home network powered by Asus's AiMesh. Now, when it comes down to the technical specs, this router supports RJ45 input in either a 2.5 gig or a 10 gig input. It is a Wi-Fi 7 dual bandwidth router. So when it comes to Wi-Fi speeds, on the 2.4 gigahertz bandwidth, it supports 1376 megabits per second. On the 5 gigahertz bandwidth, 5764 megabits per second. Both the bandwidths are 802.11be. It has a whole host of speed boosting technology built in, like OFDMA, beamforming, which is standard based and universal beamforming. It has 4096 QAM, which is a high data rate feature, as well as it supports the 20, 40, 80 and 160 megahertz bandwidth. In terms of its security, there's a whole host of security that's built in. Asus's AI Protection Pro, which includes commercial grade AI Protection Pro that's powered by Trend Micro to shield your network from cybersecurity threats. It includes site-to-site VPNing, so you can connect and set up VPNs on this router. It features security scan. So the Asus RT-BE88U features a hassle-free security scan, which helps your users make sure that the router is properly configured for your network protection or network security. The router also has safe browsing. So Asus's safe browsing provides lightweight DNS based filtering to block undesirable content, to secure your online privacy and browsing experience, all without affecting the network performance. When it comes down to it, right, in a hardware perspective, this features a quad-core 2.6 gigahertz 64-bit CPU. In terms of storage and RAM, it has 256 megs of flash storage and 2 gigs worth of RAM for the router. So we mentioned 64 gigs worth of switching. Let's talk about the ports. So at the back, right, it has two 10 gig ports, a 10 gig Ethernet that can be used for a WAN or a LAN port, as well as a 10 gig SFP plus. It features one 2.5 gig LAN port that can be used for either LAN or WAN, three 2.5 gig purely dedicated LAN ports, and one of those is a dedicated gaming port. It features four 1 gig LAN ports, as well as it features a USB 3.0 device and a DC in and a physical switch to power the router on and off. All in all, the totality totals up to 34 gigs worth of switching. So now, let's do some testing. So before we actually go about the testing, first let's talk about the use of having a 10 gig input as well as a 2.5 gig input. So obviously, the 10 gig and 2.5 gig input actually has AI, the router has AI detection built into it. So what that allows you to do is you can plug in either at the 10 gig input or the 2.5 gig LAN port input, and it'll automatically detect which is a LAN and which is a WAN port, saving you configuration and connectivity issues. So a reason why we have obviously 10 and 2.5 is if you want to use the 10 for connecting to servers and all of those things, and obviously depending on your internet connection, most people are not going to have a 10 gig LAN or 10 gig input of internet. So if you have like a 2.5 gig, you can sacrifice a 2.5 gig port and save your 10 gig port to use it for connectivity and all of those things. The second thing I want to talk about is this SFP that I mentioned earlier. So SFP stands for Small Form Factor Pluggable. And what Small Form Factor Pluggable or SFP is basically an electronic connection like this that you can connect to the back of a router, of a switch or whatever, that will allow you to create a connection over a fiber cable. So SFP allows you, when you compare SFP to standard UTP copper connections, SFP, obviously we know fiber can run long distances without signal loss, as well as you can get excellent speeds like how you see here, 10 gig over fiber no matter what. So that's where SFP comes in. Now, the router also supports a 10 gig LAN as well as a 10 gig SFP connection. So you can choose if you want to use a 10 gig copper connection to routers, switches and that sort of thing, or if you want to use copper like if it's running a long distance. So now let's go ahead and set up an SFP connection between the Asus RT-BE88U as well as a switch that I have on standby. So what I have right here is a copper cable with an SFP plus connector. I'm going to plug one end into the router just like that, and I'm going to plug the other end into a switch that I am going to set up. So to test this connection, and it might be a little loud because obviously the switch is kind of noisy, but to test this connection, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to hook up the ZenBook Duo to the switch, and we're going to connect to the router and obviously make some changes. On the switch itself, you can see that the SFP connection has lit up I mean on the router, and I'm not sure if it's lit up or it's lit up somewhere here to state that the switch SFP is connected as well. So I'm going to connect this to my dock because I, the great tech reviewer of TechScene, forgot that the ZenBook Duo does not have a Ethernet port or an Ethernet port. So now that's plugged in there. This is plugged in here. And now from here we're gonna try and connect. So as you can see, although we are connected to the switch, from the switch we are then being converted to fiber. We are traveling all along this blue cable and then coming back to the Asus router, the RT-BE88U. So that's how the SFP connectivity can work. As well as you can, I mean, this is a simple example of how you can use SFP, but you can use SFP to connect your router to other switches for faster connectivity. You could connect it to servers that have SFP ports at the back so that you're ensuring 10 gig connectivity between your router and your server. I mean, you could also use the copper that's built into the router, the 10 gig LAN WAN port. You could use that to connect to servers as well. So copper obviously is less reliable over longer distances. So if you're running long distances, that's where SFP and fiber comes in clutch. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, let's get rid of this and all the noise. The next thing we can talk about is the dedicated gaming port at the back of the router. So yeah, as I was saying, you have a dedicated gaming port, which is LAN port 4 and one of the 2.5 gig or the fourth 2.5 gig port that you have here that you can use as a dedicated gaming port. So as we know, dedicated gaming ports get priority in terms of traffic and all of those things, so that they skip the queue when it comes to switching and all of those things. The other thing I want to talk about is the fact that this USB 3.0 port, right? So the USB 3.0 port can be used for USB storage and all of those things. But something else that this device allows you to do is the fact that it allows you to connect, not that we have them much anymore, but a 3G or a 4G USB dongle to the back of the router as a failover connectivity, so that if your fiber or whatever that you're plugging in via your LAN cable goes down, it'll cut across to this 3G or 4G connection that's plugged in via USB. So we've spoken about all of this connectivity and all of those things, and I can 100% tell you that imagine having 10 ports at the back of a router. The router gets very, very hot. So Asus actually has a 30% larger aluminium cooling plate that will allow the router to cool faster in conjunction with all of the vents and that sort of thing. So it's actually Asus's extreme cooling. Now, when it comes to Wi-Fi connectivity and Wi-Fi testing, right? Let's talk about some of the features that we mentioned with the router. All right. So one of the first features I want to talk about is Wi-Fi 7. So Wi-Fi 7 introduces a revolutionary feature that delivers exceptionally fast speeds, extremely low latency, as well as enhanced security and reliability. Before we conduct any testing of the Wi-Fi, we have to talk about the Wi-Fi 7 itself. Wi-Fi 7 introduces revolutionary features that can deliver exceptionally fast speed, extremely low latency, as well as enhanced reliability and security. One of the first features is MLO. So MLO stands for multi-link operations, and this intelligently manages traffic and aggregates between the two bandwidths, the 2.4 and the 5 gigahertz bandwidth. So this reduces congestion as well as maximizes throughput. So connecting to multiple bands enables seamless switching where your data will be allocated to the more or the most suitable bandwidth to reduce latency. The second feature is 4K QAM, and 4K QAM is packaging signals more densely And this allows you to transmit more information within the same bandwidth. Compared to Wi-Fi 6, 4K QAM can improve data transmission by rates up to 20%, meaning faster downloads, smoother streaming, as well as quicker uploads. Compared to this router's predecessor, the QAM actually improved it by a factor of 1.2 times. Now, let's go ahead and look at the user interface itself. It should be noted that for all of these features, you have to have a device that is Wi-Fi 7 capable. The only Wi-Fi 7 capable device I currently have with me is the S24 Ultra. And even some of the other tests and that sort of thing that other individuals have done, as much as you can have a Wi-Fi 7 card and all of those things, if MLO or 4K QAM is not supported or doesn't work correctly, that does cause an issue and you're unable to actually achieve the true speeds of Wi-Fi 7. I've seen this router retailing in South Africa for anywhere between 8,800 Rand and about 9,500 Rand. I've seen an excessive price of about 10,500, but that was just one inflated price that I came across. So with that being said, if you had to consider all of the different parts that make up this router, the regular router that can connect you to the internet, the router and obviously the 1 gig ports, the 4 1 gig ports, then the 4 2.5 gig ports, that's another switch, then your 10 gig port as well as the SFP, that's another switch, the Wi-Fi 7 access points and capabilities of that access point, and the node functionality and all of those different parts. I mean, as much as this router may seem excessive and may seem expensive, if you had to go out and purchase each of these individual functions alone and build your own network, excluding the cables, I think you'd be spending close to about 17,000 Rand for a device like this. So if you purchase this, it's all in one. You can segregate your networks. You can do so many different things with it, as well as obviously you can use older devices to connect up to this and build a much larger network and save yourself the effort and the energy and the time instead of building obviously those massive networks with multiple different pieces. When it came down to it, and I'll be very honest with you guys, even when I spoke to the team at Asus, I said, you know what, I honestly think that I am not capable of reviewing this device because I don't have the capabilities. As much as I had the capability to test this connectivity between a switch and this over SFP, we don't have the connectivity to test a 2.5 gig connection. I don't have a 2.5 gig NAS to copy a file and see the speed. I don't have a 2.5 gig internet link that we can test and see how fast the downloads are over the Wi-Fi. So it slightly disheartens me, and I honestly must apologize to you guys as the viewers, because I feel like I haven't done this review justice because I wasn't able to talk and test some of these features that are built into this router. But what I can go away with my head held high is that I've explained a lot of the features, and this was a very educational video compared to a practical review sort of. But yeah guys, if you consider this router, it is an awesome device. There's a lot of functionality, a lot of capability, and this is geared towards someone that's building a massive network. And it's not for someone just looking to set up a fast Wi-Fi at home. I mean, 10 ports, 34 gigs worth of switching, as well as 7.2 gigs worth of Wi-Fi capabilities is not playing. Like how I mentioned, all the different parts that make up this router would cost you maybe double the price of the actual router itself. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. A big shout out to Asus South Africa for sending out this device and giving me the honor of reviewing a device like this. I don't think in South Africa we would ever have the as much as we have 1 gig internet links and all of those things. I mean, I have a 250 megabit internet link, and I'm like, okay, what am I doing with this? But anyway, coming back to it, I don't think there would be too many people in South Africa that would be able to harness the full capability of this router, let alone me. If you enjoyed this video, you can let me know by giving a like rating if you did. If you have any questions about the device or want to see anything else from us, leave a comment down in the comment section below. But guys, thank you very much for watching. My name is Prashant, and I will catch you in the next video.